Welcome, this is Papa J from Violent Impact and the Impact Gaming community, and right now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bosses of Ascalonian Catacombs Explorable mode. I will apologize up front, this is technically one boss short of this particular wing of the story mode, but the first boss is kind of like I guess you could say, universal boss as far as all the routes go. It's the spider boss the same exact spider boss actually you fight in story mode. Well, I figure there's no real reason to cover that because nothing changes. It's the same fight, same mechanics, just everything does a lot more damage and has a lot more health. Almost to the point where I'd say the health on the ads especially is a little bit much. But that aside, here is the second boss. He is a thief type mob, and as you saw earlier before the time skip, he has two ads standing guard with him. The two ads can be any number of professions, but in this particular case it was a monk and a ranger. Again, it doesn't really matter what professions they are, just pick one, kill it, pick the other one, kill it, then start doing stuff with the boss. So this boss has three abilities. I'll list them all now, and then I'll go over them in a bit more detail later when he starts using them. First one he's been using, actually, it's Leaping Death Blossom. Second one and third one, which are used sequentially, so he'll use ability number 2, Scorpion Wire, and then ability number 3, Dagger Storm, immediately after the Scorpion Wire goes off. So what Scorpion Wire does, it is an AoE pull in and knockdown plus stun. It is really nasty, seeing as how immediately as he does that, you will be hit with a Dagger Storm, and well, if you're stunned, you really can't get out of it. So you'll be seeing this combination actually and how potent it is in about 1 second. Bam, there. As you can see, it did a fair amount of damage. And by a fair amount, I mean it knocked us flat on our ass and put us in a down state. So, what are some things we can do to avoid this effective one-shot? Well, I'm going to let you know those things right now because it's pretty imperative to know these and do these and execute it well if you don't want this fight to last 15 or 20 minutes. I think this fight, which was a rather clean kill, I believe we only had one person who needed to ever respawn back to a waypoint, and that was me. I, of course, omitted that footage. At any rate, this was a clean kill, pretty much. Took about 8.5, 9 minutes, so it can take a lot longer. Believe me, when we did this the night before without knowing all this stuff that we did tonight, it took, I think, about 17 or 18 minutes, somewhere between the 15-20 range. It was basically a graveyard Zerg. So, more on these abilities. Anything that breaks stun, so Cleansing Flames, Mistform, Armor of Earth, just a few elementalist examples. You will pretty much need to use one of those the exact fraction of a second that you see yourself getting pulled into him. So if you see yourself moving towards him and you didn't move towards him yourself, which I can't imagine why you would do anyway, then you need to immediately hit that stun breaker and immediately start spamming your dodge roll, because otherwise, well, as you saw, it only takes about a fraction of a second for Dagger Storm to kill you. Additional things you can do is use a straight up immunity spell like the Elementalist Mistform. Again, I don't know what other classes and professions have, but I know I had Mistform, which is phenomenal. The last thing you can do about the Scorpion Wire is use stability type effects and any type of projectile, reflect, or destroy. However, I wouldn't recommend trying to time those because there is no definitive timer, And there is definitely not a definitive animation to the scorpion wire that you can look for and be like, oh hey, he's using it, I should probably do this now. No, none of that stuff. So it's better to not try to preemptively use those and then end up getting killed in the end anyway. Something else that you can do to mitigate the use of Scorpion Wire is have him tanked. For the most part, our ranger was keeping his pet up and alive and, well, tanking the guy. You also have a little bit of help from the NPC that goes with you as you're doing this particular route of the dungeon. The NPC isn't that much of a help in all honesty, mostly just gets in the way. But that's to be expected. If you play Guild Wars 1, you know just how terrible the AI in that game was. Well, can't say it's improved much, at least not in this case, for Guild Wars 2, but that's okay. So that is pretty much the boss fight. Again, you have his spamming of Leaping Death Blossom. Really just get out of the way or keep him tanked with something that can take a lot of hits. Guardian works, melee ranger built properly works. Ranger pet works if he knows how to keep it alive and do constant pet swaps. Scorpion wire, AoE pulling and stun and whatnot. Really fun stuff. Pretty much need a stun breaker if you want to do this fight without dying every, say about minute to the wire plus Dagger Storm. And of course Dagger Storm, just massive AoE close range damage. Again, use your stun breakers and dodge roll to get out of Scorpion Wire, and Dagger Storm won't be a problem because that is literally the only way he can kill you in this fight unless you are sitting still as he's beating on you with Leaping Death Blossom. So that is the second boss of Catacombs. Now we're going to cut to a mini boss. So this little mini boss, he's not really a boss. For one, he drops terrible loot. For two, he just kind of ran out of the wall at us, and we're like, okay, well, we'll kill you too, I suppose. He's just a big cave troll that has really slow but really high damage attacks, and he pretty much stands still. There's only a couple times he'll knock people around and charge at them. I think our ranger pet and the NPC tanked him just fine because of all the healing we were throwing down on them. So there's not much to this guy, but you're going to see some really cool stuff I do with the Elementalist and basically how you effectively play one, specifically a staff Elementalist. So as you can see, I am dropping combo fields galore, and that's pretty much how you play. And as you see, anybody shooting projectiles through that big healing well I just threw down gets regeneration. Well, I just unloaded a crap ton of burning, so that boss will be burning for quite a while now for quite a large spike of damage. Thanks to all the arrows my fellow comrades were shooting through it. Yeah, I do other things too, like it's not just the flames and the healing for regeneration. I also threw down that nice lightning circle there for vulnerability stacks, quick vulnerability stacks at that. Believe I give everybody a AoE frost armor, which basically chills nearby foes. I just use the number 2 on the Elementalist Earth Attunement, and I use the number 4 on the Water Attunement. So you have a blast finisher and a combo field of ice, and well, I'll let you figure out the rest. So again, boss really uninteresting, really of little to no consequence to do him or not. Like I said, the loot's terrible. I think they were all like white pieces of gear appropriate to our armor class. Hey, there's the frost armor. Yes, I'm just going to skip the rest of this because I've drug on about this enough already. Sure you guys don't want to listen to this shit either. So, fading to black and getting on to the final boss and the event preceding it. So after a whole bunch of annoying trash pools, we get to this large, open, expansive room with what appears to be 3 broken mortars, and more on this in a bit. This is the room of the final boss of this particular wing. We'll have some free time. I like to discuss the various wings. This is the only wing that is doable with any type of group composition. The second wing is only doable with at least 2 staff elementalists who are using and alternating meteor showers on the burrows that spawn adds. Because meteor showers are about the only thing that kills them in a reasonable amount of time. And then the third wing is just flat out impossible. No one, to my knowledge, was able to clear it on the beta. We sure as hell weren't able to, regardless of composition and whatnot. So, barring some fine-tuning adjustments, I'm sure everything will be fine upon release in a couple of months. So, about this event here, you have the NPC, which is effectively repairing these little siege mortars for us. You will need them later, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But what happens as you near each mortar and try to repair it, a bunch of ads pop up, 2 silver elites and a big gold one. Yeah, you just kill them. Some of the ones are annoying. I think this was 2 monks. I'm not positive. I could be wrong. I'm not really paying attention right now. But I know at one point it was 2 monks and then the big dude, so it was rather annoying. Just focus fire, kind of lock him in place, burst him down, and then keep doing the same thing to the other ones, and eventually all 3 mods will die. So we're going to cut to the next mortar, I suppose. Actually, you know what? We're just going to cut to the boss event here, because this whole process is a grueling, I think, 15 or 16 minutes long. I really don't think you want to see all this. It's the same thing. Just try to keep the NPC alive. It doesn't matter if she dies, but it's easier if she's alive. You get the cannons repaired faster. You get to go do the boss faster. So again, just run to a siege mortar. Well, she will for you, and protect her. And that's about it. You do this 3 times, and like I said, it's a long, grueling process. It takes at least 15 minutes. It could probably take as long as 20 if you're slow at killing the stuff. So again, just gonna cut back here and come back when we visit the boss. So here's the boss, big phantasmal beast that spawns a whole bunch of little goo. Now the trick here is to have someone kite tank him, so Ranger is really good at this. Ranger is actually ridiculously good at this. Anybody who can take damage, so like you said, we have the Guardian here. He's trying to pick up as many of his little ads as he can, but for whatever reason, we didn't figure this out until way later in the fight because we were too concerned about the number of ads in the boss there, is that the NPC, when she is alive, pretty much gets the aggro of all the little ads on her within range. Don't know how, don't know why, don't really care, but it happens, and it becomes very useful because she will try to beat the crap out of the big phantasmal beast, and meanwhile all the little ads get spawned around him and they will immediately rush to her as she's trying to, basically trail the boss and kill him. So as you can see, we have a bunch of mortars down. Elementalists are really good at staying in the middle because they have a whole bunch of field effects that can be utilized to control the ads and make them a little bit more manageable, as well as AoE them down. The 3 mortars are a high explosive, a frost, and a shock mortar. Shock mortar does exactly that. It lays down that nice field of electricity and stuns anything walking through it. The frost mortar just puts a big AoE chill effect on the ground, which slows everything in it. And basically the same thing as the elementalist abilities. In fact, they're almost exact. They pretty much are the elementalist abilities, only with a much smaller AoE range thanks to my staff blasting trait. At any rate, the strategy for this boss, he's a long one. I think he's about 15 minutes as well. And this was, again, a clean run. We had very little ad mismanagement. As you can see, we're tanking him roughly around the middle so that 2 of the mortars can hit him. I really wouldn't be too concerned about not using the high explosive mortar. The shock mortar and frost mortar are pretty much mandatory, but the high explosive one really isn't if you have a fair amount of AoE in your group. So if you have, like, say, an elementalist like I'm doing right now, just dropping AoEs in the middle as stuff spawns and killing it on his own, then you really don't need a high explosive mortar. Something to look out for, though, is bringing the boss too close to various mortars. As you will see, the ads will spawn and they will immediately go for people in the mortars. And something interesting is that these ads apparently do have an aggro table. Just being near them does not get them when you actually attacking them and doing damage to them does. So as you can see, we get a little bit of ad mismanagement here, and this continues on for another 3 or 4 minutes, but we're going to skip that part and get on to later stages of the fight. So here's one of those later stages. I should probably mention that the boss does burrow from time to time. As you just saw, he wasn't there and now he is there. Really, you just need to keep running and dodge roll whenever you kind of see his little icon above his head roll over towards you. That way you don't get hit by it, because it does a lot of damage if he hits you with it. So the ad management is a little bit rough here as well. I'm pretty sure it's because he increases the rate at which he spawns the tiny ads after about 50%. As you can see, the boss is about at roughly 45-ish right now, 40 to 45. So again, really you just need to keep 2 people in the mortars, at least at minimum the shock and the frost mortar. If ads get on people in the mortars, they either need to kill them rapidly themselves or call for help and have someone like me, the LNS, run in there and just AoE them down and try to get their attention. Because if you don't have people in the mortars, you have really bad stuff happen, and eventually you will wipe because there are too many ads to run around and avoid, and it just gets real nasty. It's too much stuff to AoE down, and it gets too spread out, too sporadic. You really can't do anything. So, like, again, as I said, this is just terrible ad management right here. I forget what time we were doing this at, but we were all tired. We had been doing betas for, I don't know, pretty much. If we were awake, we were doing this, and I assure you, none of us got a whole lot of sleep this weekend. But just skipping back to the end where we get back on track with the mortars and whatnot. So something interesting we did here is a couple of us had to run back from just the sheer number of ads. Is that we swap places. I know I'd be more useful in the middle, throwing down AoEs and whatnot, but seeing as we had no mortars running at all because our 2 normal mortar guys were essentially running around getting ads off them the entire time, it's best if you just call for a swap. Have whoever was in the middle not doing mortars to come to a mortar, and then just have the other guys who have aggro on them kite them around in the middle and try to get everything under control. So yeah, we do that. I tornado to try to get stuff more around in the center, and the fact that it does a whole lot of damage. And, well, it does fair enough damage with the 3 lightning bolts that get chained everywhere. Anyway, so we've got our ad management back on track now. We can go back to our normal mortar people, go back to killing the boss. As you can see, it's a really slow fight. He's only down to about 20-ish% now, 15, maybe 20%. So it's really an endurance fight. You just got to be able to maintain control. As you can see, the NPC got rezzed at some point in time, and look at that. At least half a dozen, maybe 10 ads on her, and they are not moving. Makes stuff real easy. Again, we didn't really know that until, like I said, the fight's almost over. About another 3-ish minutes, and it'll be done. So yeah, just try to keep the NPC alive. If it goes down, you don't have to res it, but resing it definitely helps, and it's definitely a valid strategy. Again, with the amount of healing fields the ranger and I are putting out, you really don't tend to die unless you're getting hit directly by the boss. And that essentially wraps up Ascalonian Catacombs Explorable mode, at least this particular wing of it. Again, sorry for not getting footage of the oh so enjoyable spider boss. I didn't think it was needed, plus I forgot to hit record anyway. So, again, you have that annoying teeth boss in the beginning, you have that cave troll that might not pop out at you and start smacking on you, and you have this wonderful 30-minute event plus boss fight. On a good day, mind you. It could be much, much worse, I assure you. And so there we have it. It's Violent Impact doing Explorer mode, Ascalonian Catacombs. Look for more videos from us in the future. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested in applying, check us out at impact-gaming.us.